YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a rant, not like a full rant, just kind of more of a discussion about a controversy, quote unquote, that comes up in this fandom, I think at least once a year, which is somebody using the term Japanese Power Rangers. I mean, it happens all the time, but usually there's one like inciting incident where something trends or an article comes out or something, and this week there was a post that got shared around of someone saying like, oh, Japanese Power Rangers goes hard, and of course, you know who started going hard? That sounded. But you know, the hardcore fans immediately with their pure, I'm a Sentai purist stuff, and I see this all the time and it drives me crazy. And I want to start this by saying I'm not trying to make anyone mad or attack anyone, just a bit of venting and talking about how we should handle this situation, because I don't think this fandom handles it the best. So the thing is that I understand to a degree why people get upset. I mean, I don't understand why they truly get so upset. Like, it's not important. Like 99% of the things the all fandoms fight for, it's not a cause worth like fighting. But regardless, I can understand the logic of it in a way. It kind of ties back to what I've been discussing ad nauseum with Power Rangers currently, is Power Rangers' reputation. You know, I did several videos recently talking about, you know, Sentai and Rider making more of a name for themselves with Power Rangers being absent and how that's difficult because it's attached to the public perception of Mighty Morphin. And that, I see why that would upset people, because then they're just thinking, oh, they're just blanketing it with like MMPR. And that's true. And I think it's interesting because there's probably a mix of like certain things about the cheesiness of MMPR and their delivery that obviously Sentai and Rider doesn't do in the same way, but there is things about Toku, whether it's PR, Sentai, or Rider, that just don't appeal to people, and I think people need to be okay with that. Like, it's fine if people don't like that or think it's stupid. It's like, I feel like that's where I'm always at odds with the fandom. It's because I feel I see it both ways, where it's like, I'm obviously watching this because I think it's cool and stuff, even though I think some of the stuff's weird. But, you know, I can also see why people would see it as lame. And I think that it's fine. If someone doesn't like it, that doesn't affect you. Regardless, getting back to the point, this is why this is called a ramble. The point is I see to a degree like why people would not want that, because it's kind of a symptom of Rider and Sentai not being able to gain any like respect or an audience or whatever because it's lumped in with Power Rangers. However, I think people overreact and then they don't play it right. I think that if you want someone to either respect it or check it out, the way to come at it is not actually. Like, and the thing is, I'm sure not everybody does, but the lion's share of reactions I see when this pops up online, especially on Twitter, is like most of the reactions are heated Sentai purists being like, actually this comes from the original Superior Super Sentai and I am superior for watching it. They get blood on their lips, it's hardcore. And that's usually the stuff I see. I'm like, how dare you disgrace it with the name of PR, even though I started with PR and I'm pretending I don't. I live in Eagleton. That's usually what I see. And the other ones are kind of more, it's not as aggressive, but it's kind of actuallying. And the problem is that's just not, it doesn't come off good. And you know what? Most of the time, these people that are making this observation or comment, like, oh, look at this Japanese Power Rangers thing I found, that's really cool, or this is a cool suit, or whatever, like, they don't have any interest beyond that. And people are like have this expectation that like if someone wanted to make a tweet like, oh, I found this cool Japanese Power Rangers scene, I want to share it, like they're obligated to do research and like cite their sources and do a bunch of watching of it and all that. And they probably have no interest in checking it out beyond that. Some might, but they have no obligation to watch it or to check it out or to know more. It's fine if it's a shorthand, because that's kind of what it is to them. You know, it's not a big deal, honestly. I think the best way to approach it would maybe be like, this clip in particular is funny because it's shared as like, oh, Japanese Power Rangers goes hard. It wasn't like making fun of it like the controversy from last year when people were making fun of King Oger or whatever. So it's not like they were making fun of it or anything. You could easily be like, I think the clip is from Kyoryuger being like, oh man, I love the Super Sentai series Kyoryuger, like these are some of my favorites or something. I mean, just share it in a way that doesn't come across as actuallying or angry purism, because that's immediately going to put people off if they were in any way interested in checking out. I'm sure that there's a few people that are interested in checking it out, or maybe even would be inspired by, hey, this clip was cool, and someone actually makes a comment like a stable person and would recommend some other series or something, or whatever, and they might check it out. But I think 99% of the time, they're just sharing something they thought was cool or would get to trend or whatever, and like if they just see it as Japanese Power Rangers, that's fine. Most people will see like, oh, I know it comes from Sentai or it comes from a Japanese show, and then they move about their day. It's like, doesn't matter, they're not obligated to know or care about Sentai. It's just not a big deal. And this whole thing makes me wonder, like, honestly, I'm sure that there's some haters over there, but I'm always curious like what the Japanese fandom thinks of like Power Rangers. Again, in any fandom, you'll be willing to find one person with one opinion, so I'm sure there's some people that hate it, but I'm curious if there are like Sentai fans over there that are like insufferable as like the Sentai purists get here, where they're just absolute haters and like, it's just weird. Like, again, I mentioned this in a recent video, the Sentai purists here take on this strange attitude. Like, they live there, but in this fictional version where Sentai is constantly under attack by Power Rangers in America. Like, it's just weird. It's like, how dare it even touch my precious Sentai? You're destroying our legacy. I'm like, dude, you live in Ohio. What are you doing? I'm like legitimately curious what their perception is overall. Like, if there's like a general consensus like of the Toku fandom, you know, I would say it definitely leans a little more towards purism, or at least people thinking Sentai is always superior. But I'm curious, like, amongst the older fans over there, like, what they think of it. Again, I'm sure there's some people that are haters, but I'm curious if they have... I think it would be hilarious if they didn't have as many Sentai purists. And also, that reminds me is that there are some, like, countries that they dub Sentai out to, like I think Korea, where they just translate it as Power Rangers. So I don't think that Sentai necessarily has a problem with that. You know, I'm sure this is a whole topic for another time, but I'm curious what they think of how everything's gone down with Hasbro in regards to their relationship. But I think before now, I think Toei and everybody at Sentai, that sounds like Sentai's a company, but you know what I mean, everyone working on Sentai never saw Power Rangers as a negative thing because it gave them more exposure and more money, especially when they were in cahoots with Bandai. Hashtag cahoots! So, I don't know, I just think that, I bring that up just because people always make it seem like Toei and Super Sentai are a victim of Power Rangers, and it's like, they're the ones that made the deal in the first place. Like, Saban didn't go in and steal the Sentai names or whatever out of the vault. Like, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, guys, a little bit of a rant, just because this drives me nuts because it activates one of my least favorite sections of the fandom, which is Sentai purists, and that we need to be okay with this. Again, I know that there is a bit of negativity, which I understand of it being associated with that, and you get frustrated that someone might not be able to give Kamen Rider a chance because all they see is like the 90s MMPR Season 1. But it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. It's nothing worth getting upset over. Ironic as I'm saying it, getting upset over it, but all these years with the fandom just wore me down. Regardless, it's okay if they use it as a shorthand. And if you come across this and you feel the urge to correct them, try to come at it in a manner that's not like an angry purist or like, actually. Come at it from a point of enthusiasm and trying to share like, oh yeah, like this is from Kyoryuger, this is really cool, you should check this out or whatever. You know, it's like almost tricky because you have to do it in a way where you're like telling them what it is without actualing them. Because, you know, setting aside my personal perspective on this because I'm in the weeds with the Toku fandom, when it comes to anything, if someone comes at it like a purist or like an actually, it definitely puts me off. You know, it's like I'm gonna start calling it Japanese Power Rangers even harder. So anyways, guys, that was my little rant. It's just something that gets on my nerves. And again, I do understand why it makes people upset, but I think we need to approach it from a better way instead of flying off the handle and acting like such elitists about it. And also being okay with, it's okay if they don't know about Sentai, and it's okay if they don't like it. That doesn't take away from what you like. Anyways, guys, till next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.